Thank you, everyone, for letting us speak to you today about the Central Illinois Center for the Blind and Visually Impaired. We are probably the best kept secret in Peoria. We've been down on Garden Street since 1955, so we've been around for a few years. And Peoria is actually the original home of the white cane. It was invented in Peoria. So in 1931, the white cane was invented down on Main Street, right by where the Pere Marquette is. And we're very proud of that. And we want to share a little bit about the history of the center, as well as the white cane. In fact, on October 15th, we had the National White Cane Day celebrated throughout the United States, and Mayor Ali was kind enough to color the bridge in white and red, and Ashley did a great job on Facebook of highlighting our fundraiser that evening. So thank you for that, Ashley. Blindness or visual impairment impacts about 3% of the population. So many of you know someone that's been impacted by blindness or visual impairment. And we've got some cards on your table to show you what some of those visual impairments are. And so feel free to get yourself acquainted with some of the diseases that impact our patrons. Also, we've got a little brochure here to highlight some of the programs that we provide. You know, the word underserved is overused right now in society. And I would like to highlight the fact that the blind and the visually impaired truly are an underserved population. And part of what Paula and I do every day is try and help those people get along in life. And Paula is going to highlight some of our programs that we go through. Then finally, you know, one of the things that we want to no longer be is the best kept secret in Peoria. So one of the things that we've set out to do is increase our footprint and our impact with the Blind and Visual Impaired Center. And we've been able to increase our active patron count by 35%. We've tripled the number of partnerships that we work with in terms of other nonprofits in town. And we've doubled the number of newsletters and or donor lists that we've set out since COVID. COVID was pretty rough on nonprofits, as we all know, and we survived, and now we're looking to grow. So with that, I'd like to introduce Paula Balistreri. She has been with the center for 3 years. She's a great leader and one of our key people on helping the center grow. So Paula, without further ado.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Kurt, and thank you, Rotarians, for having me. And I hope I can shed a little bit of light on the Blind Center. That's how we're commonly called, the Blind Center, because we have a really long name. But I would ask you to think about vision impairment, and how many of you know somebody that's visually impaired? It's like almost everyone. Visual impairment in the legal sense is anything that is 20/200. You hear about 20/20 vision, that's considered perfect vision. 20/200, those numbers mean that what a sighted person can normally see at 20 feet, someone who's impaired, I'm sorry, got that backwards. A sighted person can see at 200 feet. A visually impaired person has to be 20 feet away from it to see it in the same clarity. So 20/200 is pretty severe. The other part of that is that it's non-correctable. So 20/200 vision, I've had worse vision than that myself, but it was correctable. If it's non-correctable, then you're considered visually impaired. So I'm pretty sure that we all have an aunt or a grandpa or a cousin or another family member or friend that's visually impaired. And most of the time, like Kurt referred to, that happens later in life. That vision simulator shows diseases that are progressive. If you hold that up to one eye and close the other one, you can see what those people would see if they have one of those conditions. That generally happens to people at midlife or later. And I would say that the biggest percentage of our patrons are people who have been affected by something like that. That's not to say that we don't have people who have been blind since birth. So if you can imagine, back in the day when the center started, if you were born blind about the age of 3 or 4, you got sent away. You got sent away to a boarding school because there was nothing around here to help that person, and parents didn't know what to do. So they sent their children off to a boarding school. Now, the school system has a great program for children that are born blind or have something happen that causes them to lose their vision. So we are very confident in the job that the school system does with those people. So our focus is on midlife on up for the most part, although we do have a lot of 20-year-olds that are in our patron list and 30-year-olds too, who for whatever reason are visually impaired. So if you can imagine, today you can see me, you can see your friends, you can go out there and drive your car, but what if tomorrow you couldn't see? It would be a major life change. It's similar to losing a loved one. You've lost your sight. You don't know what to do. These people, when that happens, they think that their life is over. They think that they can't do what they used to do anymore because they can't see. They can't do something as simple as going into their bathroom and reaching for the toothpaste and accidentally getting the Neosporin and putting it on their toothbrush because they can't see anymore. So we are here to show these people and help these people realize that they can do everything that they loved to do before, they just do it differently. So how do they do that? Excuse me while I put my glasses on. Okay. I want to tell you, well, first of all, you have the vision simulator cards there. You also have the Braille alphabet. It's on a little card like this. And so those people that were sent away to school, that was one of the first things that they learned was the Braille alphabet. You can imagine how sensitive your fingers have to be in order to read in Braille. That's one of the things that we do. When we send out our newsletter, like Kurt mentioned, we Braille it for some of our patrons. A 6-page newsletter that doesn't have a lot of words on it could be maybe 15 to 20 Braille pages. And a machine does it. It makes a lot of noise, but it is a way for people to read things that they like if they happen to know Braille. So that is just one of the services that we provide. We have a patron. I was speaking to someone earlier about her. Her name is Deanna. Deanna became blind later in life through a disease, but she loved to cook. And she at first thought, you know, I'm not so sure that I can do this anymore. But through technology, we have been able to help her. For example, did you know that there are machines that you can get, or nowadays you can get an app on your cell phone that if you hold it up to a can in your pantry, it will read the label and it will tell you whether or not it's tomato soup or green beans, which makes a huge difference if you're a cook. We have measuring cups that will verbally or audio tell you when it's full or when it's at 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, 1 full cup, all sound so that the person doesn't have to see. When they turn on their oven, they want to make sure that they're at 350. If you go home and look at your oven, you have to look at it to see what temperature it is. Might even be a digital temperature. But if they have an oven with a dial, they can put something that's called a bump dot on it. This is a bump dot. And I have a couple that I'll pass around. Maybe share this around the tables. But it's tactile. And it's a different way of seeing because you can feel a bump. It's set at 350. You know that when you feel that bump, your dial is at 350. So there's all kinds of things like that. Deanna is also a children's book author, and she cannot see what she writes. but she writes children's books and they actually are for sale. And I think maybe we're going to partner and see if we can get some of those books out in your giveaway book program. So that would be great. I want to talk to you about Cora. Cora is one of those who at age 4 went to boarding school. And she is probably the most non-technical person I have ever met in my entire life. She does not like to use a phone. She does not like to use an Alexa. She does not use a computer. She doesn't look at her email. She is a huge sports fan, though. She is a Cardinal fan to beat all Cardinal fans. And she enjoys the ball games. In fact, she goes to ball games in person. And when she's at a ball game, she can wear headphones. And we actually do this when we take patrons to plays or different things like that. She can wear headphones and someone else can very quietly speak into a microphone and give her a play-by-play if they're not doing it. So she sees the ball game through her ears. We have Jonathan. Jonathan is a young man who's a drummer. He also is a clothes horse. He loves to wear the latest and greatest in style and fashion. And in order to accomplish that, he has an app on his phone that when he goes to his closet, it will tell him if this is a blue shirt or a red shirt. It will tell him if these are brown pants or black pants. That way he knows he always matches. He also still plays the drums. We have Ron. He, in his past life, was a construction project manager. I have no clue what that does. But whatever it is, I think he was in charge and I think he bossed people around and he built things. But he loved to read. He liked to read everything. So he has a device in his home that when he puts his newspaper or his book underneath it, it talks to him. It changes print to audio so that he can do that. Now we have some other patrons who like to read as well, but they have some sight. So they use magnifiers and you can put whole pages under these magnifiers and it blows it up into big print so that they can still read that. The other thing with Ron, he lives alone now. And frankly, he was lonely. He was lonely. We got him an Alexa. We had to tell him, don't say her name unless you want her to talk to you. But he did figure it out. And now he uses Alexa and it reminds him when he has a doctor's appointment. It reminds him when it's time to come to the center for an event. So it's been a great companion. And I think I've got him convinced now in the morning when he gets up to say, good morning to Alexa, pay me a compliment. And Alexa will say, my, you're looking dapper today. So it's been a great thing. But speaking of those social events, that's one of the things that we do at the center. We have regular events. We go places. We've gone to the zoo. We have gone to plays. We've had musicians come in. We've done drum circles. We were in the St. Patrick's Day parade. And for some of our patrons, this is the only time that they can get out. Because if you think about it, they can't drive anywhere. They have to rely on someone else to get them to where they need to go. So we do provide transportation. We have a bus. And we're very proud of the fact that emblazoned on the side, it says home of the long white cane. So that is a great thing for us. But we do pick people up and get them to the center so that they can be with their friends. And more importantly, they can be with their peers. They can be with people who have been there, done that. Because while we have an outstanding medical community in Peoria and the surrounding area, one of the things that we've noticed is they take excellent care of the medical need for our patrons. Excuse me, but sometimes they forget about the rest of it. So we're really trying to keep our secret no longer a secret so that people will know if they have macular degeneration or if they have diabetic retinopathy, or if they have one of these things, that once they get their medical part taken care of, they can come to us and we can help them live every day just like they used to. So that is really, really important to spread that word, because it is, if you're 45 years old and all of a sudden you can't see, you just don't know where to go. You know, where do you go? And we are the only center in downstate and Southern Illinois that does what we do. You know, everything else is either up by Chicago or way out of state. So it's a huge need, and we are really trying to make inroads into how we serve these people. So I also want to tell you that about Leona. Leona is a sweet little lady, but she happens to be low income as well. So she has a lot of other things going on. So we do try to look at our patrons in a very holistic way and know that sometimes they have needs that are really unrelated to their vision, but we will try to incorporate that into the service that we provide. So every month we deliver food baskets to our patrons. That number has probably doubled in the time that I've been there. But I know that it's much appreciated, and it's just part of, if somebody is hungry, they're not going to be able to learn about the technology that will help them live their life. So we just need to keep on with that as well. Kurt mentioned the white cane, of course, home of the white cane. The very simplest one looks like the cane that your grandpa probably used. It's straight up and down. It's red at the end, and it just looks like a walking cane. But white canes are totally different from walking canes. In other words, they don't bear weight. They are an internationally recognized symbol for the blind and visually impaired. In fact, it's against the law for somebody who is not visually impaired or blind to use a white cane out in public. But they have evolved over the years like the technology has, until the most common one is one like this. It folds up so you can put it in a briefcase or a purse, and there's your white cane. They have different tips. This is a marshmallow tip. They have roller tips. It's all a personal preference. And did you know that white canes are sized for the individual? They need to be a certain length to do their job the way that they're supposed to. And we provide training on how to use the white cane to its most effectiveness. That training is taught by a specialist. I don't teach it. But there's different ways to use a cane so that you get the most benefit from it. You sweep it back and forth. It tells you if there's an object in your way. It tells you if the terrain is going up, if it's going down, if there's a step, a curb, whatever. It's really a great tool. And we have patrons who go to work every day and they ride public transportation. They do their own shopping. They do all kinds of things. And this cane literally is a lifesaver for the mobility of those people. Other people recognize it, so they know, hey, that person has a visual impairment. They might need a little bit of accommodation or some understanding. And it also helps them get about. This is a simple cane, very simple, straight, red, black, folds up in your purse. Now we are very excited that we actually own one, and we will soon own 2 more canes that are called We Walk canes. Those canes are phenomenal. They are the latest and greatest because they look like this, sort of, but they have a little device at the end here that, again, that wonderful technology has a GPS in it, and it talks to the person, and it will say things like, you have X amount of feet or yards or meters to go, and you will be at Barracks Cater Inn. It may say that there is a Starbucks, however far away it is, and here's how you get there. If you happen to be someone who goes out every day to the same place, it will remember where you went and it will tell you how to get there. It will say there's something in your way. It's like walking with a friend. So they're very expensive. We give these away for free. We do the free training, and we give this kind of a white cane away for free. Right now, we can't afford to give a We Walk cane away because they are expensive, but we do have them. Our plan is to teach people how to use them and then offer them out on loan. And if it works well, then the person will help them with their purchasing their own white cane. So that is the latest thing in technology that we're very happy that we are right there with it. So it's great. So that's a little bit about who we are, a little bit about where we're going. I would love it if you have questions, and I'll try to answer any questions that you might have. Yes.
What is expensive?
For a We Walk cane, right now they're a little over $600. These canes, by comparison, depending on what exact brand and what exact style you get, these canes here are around $30 or $40. So it's a big difference. Yes.
How many members or participants do you serve?
Right now, we have what we call active and not so active. Our active people were a little over 120, 125 that we call active. Our inactive people are people that probably live a little farther away, or for whatever reason, we serve them, we provide services for them maybe a couple times a year. But our active ones, literally, we are seeing these people every month.
Along the same lines, how many of those that you serve would be in need of or a wee walk? Like from a dollar figure, how would you as an organization raise the money for that? Or no, you just help them by their own?
We would probably help resource places that would help them finance a We Walk cane. I'm not sure that we're in a position where we could actually buy that many or do the fundraising for that. Speaking of fundraising, it is an ongoing challenge, as I'm sure that you all know. And obviously our priority is operating. So to have a separate drive for something that expensive probably is not in our near future, as wonderful as it would be. Right now, we do depend on our very generous supporters and donors. We write grants and we have fundraising events. And because we're always thinking along those lines, there's some envelopes back there if anybody wants to donate. But it is, as I'm sure you all know, a fact of life these days.
So the total patron base, back to your question, is around 400
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Varying levels of care.
activities.
Yes.
Right. Thank you for that. And as Kurt mentioned before, with the percentage of our population being 3 to 5% of over 18, this is not the kids, but over 18 being visually impaired, then with a population of 150,000, you can do the math. That's thousands of people that are still out there that could use our services, and simply because they're either unaware that we exist or have no way of getting to us or us to them. That's our goal, is we want to reach those people and help them.
Transportation is a huge issue.
I bet.
It's- that is-
My question is, how are you funded? And does Medicare help out a person if they need it?
We are funded through grants, donations, and our own fundraising efforts, like the White Cane Day event. As far as Medicare, Medicare will pay for certain medical procedures. However, I have yet to find an insurance company that will pay for the assistive devices. The things that I talked about, like the label reader and the magnifiers, and those kinds of things are extras, and so very few are eligible for insurance reimbursement on that. So it is one of those things. It's like most insurances don't pay for hearing aids. It's a vital thing. You need to hear, you need to see, but you're kind of on your own. That's where we step in. Yes.
Are you a 501(c)(3)?
Yes, we are.
Does the Illinois Eye Center out on 91, are they familiar with you? Do they support you in any way? Do they provide information to their clients?
The Illinois Eye Center is one of our gold sponsors. We work very closely with them. In fact, we have one of their doctors on our board, and we've had several doctors from there actually be on our board before, but yes, we do work very closely with them. And they share our information regularly. There's a couple others in town that also help us out, and we are trying to get into more places. We tend to focus on the ophthalmologist, which is an MD that specializes in the eye. The optometrist usually check your vision, give you glasses, but then if you need anything more, they send you on. But we would still like to be a presence with the optometrist as well, because sometimes that's where families go and ask their questions. And, rather than we don't know, we just take care of your medical needs. We'd like them to say, well, there's this Illinois Center for the Blind and you can go there.
Jim Barrick.
Yes.
So I know that you are a member of Die Laughing Entertainment, which provides murder mystery shows, which I have done over the years. And I have one planned in December, one in the spring, but that's not the reason. But when-
Unless you're afraid that I'm going to be the murderer
So this-
and you're the victim, that could be, you know.
So my thought, because sometimes you do those as fundraisers. So potentially Rotary could do a murder mystery dinner show with your cast and crew, and that could benefit your organization, correct?
It absolutely could. And I have actually talked to Becky about that before. Becky is the owner of Die Laughing Entertainment and a friend of mine. So yeah, you may just see us here with some sort of she generally does theme related dinners. So you never know, you may have a blind murderer in your midst.
We should plan it, and I will let our club know.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Will you be in the Santa parade?
You know, I don't know. Our patrons, the St. Patrick's Day parade was a first for us. And like so many things that happen, it was like all of a sudden I'm probably driving my car and this idea comes on, okay, let's do this. And the next thing I know, we're dressed in green and we're in the St. Patrick's Day parade. But it was fun because it was a great way to get our name out there. Our patrons rode on the bus. We were able to provide the little script for the announcer. And so we just said, you know, we can't see you, but you can see us. Would you please give us a cheer? And they all did. And it was very heartwarming. And it was great because when I think about that phrase, I do think about they can't see us, but they can feel us. And if we do things and we help these people, the rewards are tremendous. And they have been for just such simple things. I mean, one time we had people come to the center and we gave haircuts because it was so difficult for them to go out to a salon or a barber and then, of all things, describe how they want their haircut, because all they can do is feel it. And it was really, no pun intended, it was eye-opening. It was eye-opening on, you know, how much we rely on being able to see. And, you know, that is a challenge I would leave you with is when you go home, go back and try and brush your teeth with your eyes closed and do it from the minute you walk into the room. Don't wait until you have the toothpaste already out, but close your eyes and try and do it. It is harder than you think. So, any other questions? Yes.
Maybe you mentioned, do you have patrons that have other disabilities that you, in addition to the blindness? that
We
you
do.
Work with?
We do.
What's that look like?
We don't necessarily provide services related to other disabilities, but we do provide accommodations. We have a few that are in wheelchairs. We have a couple that have the double whammy of lost their sight and lost their hearing. We actually have one patron who has no hands and he has artificial legs. And so if you can only imagine those challenges on top of being visually impaired. So yes, and we have another patron, let's, you know, flip the table a little bit. We have another patron who regularly runs marathons and he does quite well. That's Lance. And, you know, so it's the spectrum is very, very broad. You know, when you lose your sight, they don't play favorites. It could be anybody. Yes.
I'm 6 years old, I have and I met a cousin of my mom, and Ronnie was blind, but he could play the piano and ride the bicycle. And I just always remember that. It's not my dad's interior, but he could just play this piano by ear, evidently, but riding the bicycle was obviously you just run the neighborhood.
Yeah,
But
that's huge.
But I never forgot it.
It's inspiring and it is, it's huge. And, you know, we talk about helping, one of our other challenges, depending on the time of year and what's going on, is volunteers. You know, we welcome people to volunteer for us and they can volunteer. We have a group that volunteers quite regularly and helps us out with things like yard work. But when we have events or we go out into the community, you know, it would be like herding cats if I had 10 blind people and just me and I said, okay, we're at the store, go. You know, they're not going to. So we need volunteers to be with us to serve as guides. We do offer training. It's very simple, doesn't take very long, maybe 20 minutes at the most, on how to be a guide for someone who's visually impaired. And when you're walking with the person, it's not like you're escorting them to the prom. There are other, little tips and tricks and things that we do to help make the experience easy and fun for everybody. So I did bring a clipboard. There are blank spaces on it over there. If you would like to add your information, we'd be more than happy to add you to our newsletter. If you're interested in a volunteer opportunity, that would be great as well. We have the most fun at our events at the center when we have friends and family come and join us in whatever it is that we're doing. Yes.
Fun fact, my grandmother, when she passed away, was one of the first cornea transplant donors in the Quad Cities.
Oh, wow.
How many of your clients, patients could benefit from that? And I bring that up just because people are aware of anatomical donations. I don't know how many people know that cornea transplants are a thing for some visually impaired.
It is an important thing, and it's one of the simpler organ donation and receiving that you can do. As far as how many of our patrons would benefit from something like that, I would be perfectly honest, I have to tell you, I don't know. We don't get heavily involved in the medical aspect of what's wrong with our people, other than if it affects how we work with them and what we do and how we teach them, to get about in their home or with us. So I honestly don't know. Yes.
Do you provide connections for people who want to get a service dog?
We do. Getting a service dog or a guide dog is not easy. There are certain requirements. The very first requirement is that the person has to learn how to use a long white cane. They won't even start talking to you until you've gone through the training and you know how to use a white cane. Then you have to go up to the school, which is in Michigan, and you spend time there, a week or two, in learning how to get along with your service animal and getting matched up. There is a cost, but we work with the Lions Club, and the Lions Club is very into that part. So if we were to have someone who wanted a service dog, we would basically just resource that out with the Lions Club and help them get started. I have no idea about my time, so I hope somebody's watching the watch. Yes, any other questions? If not, thank you very much. Again, there's an extra vision simulator, braille cards, the newsletter and volunteer sign up. And if you want to think of a question later, like I always do when things are over, feel free to call me anytime at the center and we will try and get you an answer. Thank you again.